Well, welcome everyone to this committee of the whole meeting for the school board of the Shippensburg Area School District. Looks like we have 2 items on our agenda. I'll turn the time over to Mr. August to introduce those items.
Thank you, Dr. Goetz. So 2 items. First, as you may recall, it's been a while since our last meeting. We want to give regular updates on construction, where we are in our various and numerous projects. With that in mind, Melissa Colstock from SiteLogic is going to be presenting. After her, we're expecting Mrs. Zima to talk about and give an update on SOAR. I think Dr. Goetz requested that at our last meeting. She may be in transit, and so there may be a little bit of time. I'm hoping that she's here. She's coming back from Philadelphia in a flash. So, board, this is the time where, before, during, and after this construction update, if you have construction questions that we can answer, we want to answer them right here. If we don't know the answer, we will take them down and get back to everyone. Okay, so Melissa, do you want this or?
Sure. Yeah.
Oops, there you go.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for
You may want to move the mic a little bit, Melissa.
Good evening, everyone. Better. Thank you for having me here to provide this construction update. Happy to take questions, as Mr. August said, before, during, or after. Did just try to advance the slide, so try again. I think if we just go to the next slide manually, that might work out best.
You got that, Dr. Seaman?
Great. We can go one more, just to the middle school construction project update, which I'm so excited to share. This is actually what we kind of call crunch time. I'm sure, as you are aware, a lot of the construction activities were amped up, and now they're sort of winding down, and you can see that through a lot of the progress on the exterior. If you've had the opportunity to actually tour the spaces that we're renovating, you would see a lot of finishes near completion. I know Mrs. Wolfinger, you were able to take a walk through last week with us, and some of those items, probably the biggest thing is that both phases of construction for the public bid and the GISA portion, specifically the additions, the classroom addition and the cafeteria expansion, those will be complete before the start of school. And some of the items that you're seeing here in their presentation is just kind of wrapping up some of the flooring, painting, some of the doors, installation. Those activities will be complete, and we're kind of wrapping up the final punch list items. EI Associates will be on site just to kind of walk through and make sure that we've got everything buttoned up, but I'm happy to report that the water meter vault that we had talked about maybe not getting installed until next month actually came early, is currently installed, and has been tested, and so there is now no need for us to have anyone on fire watch for the next month. The one outstanding item are the exterior handrails at the ADA ramps and some of the stairwells. I'm sure you've seen those. They're wooden. They're just temporary. Those handrails are currently in fabrication. The second they come on site, they'll be installed, and that's kind of the last thing that you'll see as part of that project. All of our GISA project-related items are currently on track for completion, and some of those things that you might have noticed would be the windows and the storefront replacements. We had those mechanical items, electrical items, plumbing items. Those are all wrapped up. Ceilings are now getting put back in place, and right now the district subcontractor for building controls is working with SiteLogic just to complete all of the building automation. We have just a list of dates that we're tracking. Tomorrow, we will have a code inspector on site to get that occupancy permit. We expect no delays in retaining that. And then next week is or excuse me, a little bit later this week is our final cleaning. Lots of construction dust, but we're working on cleaning that up before the teachers and students return for the start of school. The last item that we have to coordinate with the district is ribbon cutting, where we can invite the community to come out and take a look at all of these wonderful spaces that are now part of that middle school. Any questions on the middle school construction? Okay, we can move forward. I've just captured a few images. Did not want to overwhelm everybody with, a lot of construction progress, but just since our last meeting, you can see the image on the upper left. That's just a typical brand new classroom. Obviously without the furniture, but you can see the flooring's been laid probably within the last 48 hours, which is exciting. You can see the casework, whiteboard, presentation board, and all of the other pieces that go into the classroom. The right of that is actually a photograph of the cafeteria expansion. And if you get a chance to go into this space, it is so remarkable, and it's actually quite beautiful, the view that you can see through the windows. We're so happy that students, teachers, staff will be able to participate and utilize this space, because I think it's going to be just like a wonderful community space to gather and have lunch in. And then the bottom left picture is just a photograph of the water meter vault that was installed right there just off of Eberly Drive. And then the interior of the water meter vault. I know it's not exciting, it's a very technical picture, but just to kind of show what those connections look like, along with some of the valve replacements that were taking place.
You just want to go back real
Yes.
quick. I just have a few comments about the classroom space. When you walk down that hallway, it is a different vibe. It is well lit, and it just feels like a place that you would want to learn in. Very, very distinctive feel, I think, than a lot of other spaces. The cafeteria expansion is the word escapes me outside of amazing and transformative. And so, board, tonight on the discussion agenda is the furniture for that space. And I want to talk about some things that we are getting because we built this space. And if the board approves that furniture, which is flexible, a couple things are going to happen. One, rather than having consecutive rows of what we would call an institutional type feel, like you're either in the Army or prison, students will have a wide selection of different types of seating to use. Be from booths to small tables to high tables to long tables, if that's what you like. The second part that I think is critical for the board to know when you see that item for the furniture is, working with EI, we purposely selected furniture that is flexible in terms of tables that can become benches, that can become half tables. So that back space is going to be basically a large group room for our middle school students, and a space that we can do PD in a really comfortable and accommodating space. So we're getting a lot of bang for our buck with that space. Even though we moved, just a couple of walls and expanded it, not it's like we built like a Taj Mahal, but we will be using that space frequently, as will the middle school, for more than just a cafeteria. So that's what I have to say about that.
That's just, compared to what it used to be, that's, especially with the windows, it's almost beautiful.
I will tell you, if you walk into the middle school, I said this to her, I walked in that hallway, the brand new hallway, and the way the light hits in there, and then it's great. There's like just this feeling that you get when you walk through that hallway, and then you leave that hallway, and you go into the other hallways, and it's like, ugh. It's kind of depressing and sad, and I wish all of them felt the way the other one did. But it is definitely, and the cafeteria, the only way to explain it is to walk in there yourself and actually walk to that space and see what they're talking about. There's just a feeling that you're left with there.
Were there windows in the old? I don't even remember windows being in the old one.
Yeah, there were. I think the benefit of the updated design is EI was able to incorporate just like the floor to ceiling windows.
They were
and
short windows.
Yeah.
That space will accommodate 327 students at one time, which is far below what we typically put in there. We're like somewhere between 260 and 270-ish. So kids are going to be able to spread out, and we're betting, we're predicting, we're having a hypothesis that it's just going to be a more comfortable space, and we're going to have fewer issues from kids being on top of each other in a cafeteria setting. So, yeah, a lot of hopes and dreams in that space, and we think we hit a home run.
I know we're going to have it later on, talk about the tables and chairs that's going to go in there. EI is the one supplying the information. Who else?
Not supplying them. They help put together a plan. So we had our own plan, Fred, and then we had another one from EI. The other plan looked good too. It had flexible seating, but it didn't have the same level of flexibility that we could turn the tables into benches. So that space could be used for performances. That space could be used for a variety of different things because of the furniture. The tables, rather than the regular cafeteria tables that you kind of flip up and fold up, they're really in two parts. You bring them together, they look the same, but you can pull them apart, first of all, and they become like desks, where it would be a half desk, or you could have two kids on it, or you can also fold the top down and it becomes a bench. So if you're putting on a performance, or if you're having a meeting, you have seating there ready to go. So a lot more flexibility in the EI proposal. The difference between the two was pretty insignificant. Am I remembering correctly?
I can't remember.
$10,000, I think. Under $10,000 or under between it. When we looked at it internally, it was like a build it and they will come kind of thing. And for the cost differential, it made a ton of sense. For the things so talk about connections, Fred, when we start doing and living the profile of a grad where we're asking kids to collaborate more, we have a space and a setting and the environment to have them do that more readily.
I understand that, and I have no problem. I just would like to know what else. This is what they presented, and they're a business, and they're in it to make money. I'd like to see what other options do we have at the time. No offense, but that's realistic. We're here. You're getting paid to do something. I'd like to see other options.
I understand that. This is the administrative recommendation that you have before you. So
I'd like to see the other ones too. They're not just that one. I know everybody knows Fred. I'm not hesitant about spending money, but I like to know options. I like to see. I want to vote. People make a vote. I like to know what's out there.
We do have the second one from Chad. We have it.
I mean, we have that, Mr. Scott. We can get it to you.
I appreciate that.
Okay, next steps for us. This really is kind of the next kind of pieces of projects. Middle school parent loop drive. There's been a lot of conversation about this. No need to kind of rehash all of that, but next steps are, since we last met, SiteLogic has been in receipt of the most current updated design from K&W, where they kind of streamlined that parent loop to retain that long drive, which we'll look at in a second. So now we're in the process of providing an updated estimate for that. And we will review that internally with EI, K&W, and the district, and then we will bring that to the board to review and provide updated cost information. Additionally, in relation to that, on behalf of the district, SiteLogic submitted the grant application to DCED, and you have those breakouts there. So the potential state-funded portion would be just over $1 million, and then with a 35% local match on behalf of the district, that's just over $606,000, excuse me. So those are for the grant-eligible items as part of the design. I just want to make that clear. That's not for the total design. Those are only grant-eligible pieces of the design. Next steps, as far as your grant, advocacy begins. This is where we really start pushing state legislators, meeting with them, talking to them about the project, really communicating the need that the community has for this type of project and the benefits of that, and then getting letters of support that we can then submit. Just as a reminder, November, no date has been established yet, but November is the anticipated award for the DCED grant. And we'll hear more about that in the upcoming months as the application is reviewed.
Is that something we should do, is, as board members, potentially contact these state legislators, or is that not?
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. Andrew Zwally, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, is our Director of Special Projects and Government Affairs, and he is the one that actually spearheaded the grant submission, and he coordinates a lot of that political advocacy. I'm happy to put him in touch with you if you'd like to reach out, and kind of could be a coordinated event. We do intend to, speak and present in front of Shippensburg Borough Council just to let them know and, start really communicating the needs of the district at a very local and then higher level.
So if, but if is there like if I was to write to a legislator, I'd want them to know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And so is there like a grant number, or is there some specific, I would need to know a little bit more
Yep, we can
about
give
what
you
I-
all of the specific details of the grant, who we would recommend to contact, and then you can reach out from there. Absolutely.
Melissa, if you can get that to me, I'll put it out in Friday's board agenda, board update.
Sure. I'm just going to make a note here.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for advancing the slide. So here's what we had submitted as part of the grant application. Everything that's highlighted in yellow or colored is what is eligible under the grant, but what you're also seeing is kind of that updated and design that KNW has provided for us. And really, just to clarify, this grant was submitted on behalf of the district, identifying the need to address concerns about traffic safety, pedestrian safety in and around the campus at the middle school, but also to address some of that connectivity between the high school and middle school. So if we're just kind of working clockwise around that site plan and following the bullet points, a piece of this is to align the bus loop at the high school with the bus loop at the middle school. So we can see that yellow highlighted portion on the top left-hand side is a new roadway that will connect the high school bus loop to the middle school bus loop across Everly Drive. So we now have more of a complete circular pattern for those buses to rotate through. Additionally, we're looking to incorporate a pedestrian walkway along Everly Drive. This was a borough request, and you can see that's highlighted as that very narrow walkway along Everly Drive. We are adding parking spaces at the middle school. I believe there's approximately 109 total. I think now we're closer to about 70-ish. So significant increase there. And really one of the goals of this updated design was really to kind of direct traffic flow using kind of the gates at Park Place West and signage to ensure that traffic is following a very specific pattern, and we're able to separate the parent vehicular traffic from the bus traffic, and then the support services buses that will also be on site. As this design was completed in coordination with EI and KNW, we're also identifying potential alternates within this design to help control the budget. Questions on what you're seeing?
When can the board expect some costs and numbers to be put with this?
We are meeting this week with EI to review our estimate, and so we hope that, as early as September, first meeting in September. I can't necessarily commit to the next meeting in August because we have not been able to meet with EI yet. So that's when we hope to identify that for you.
Are the dark gray portions, the extra parking, it looks like some of that is an expansion of the parking lot in front of the school, but maybe there's a few spots over there included in the bus loop too? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes, Dr. Goetz, that is correct. So the dark gray, in addition to that large oval shape in front of the school, is the expanded parking areas, and then you will see the darker gray kind of off the bus loop at the rear of the middle school, and then over to the side, the right-hand side, Plan East, some additional parking as well. I know it's hard to get that site plan on a good format that's easy to view in a presentation.
Can we get that and the original one side by side?
Yes, that will be a part of the presentation that we provide. Yeah, so we can do a compare and contrast, absolutely.
I'm trying to visualize what drop off would look like for the middle school for like, the parent who drops off, right? So is the idea that they'll be coming in from, in the way that they would now come in, but they would exit then on Eberly Drive and then like turn left and go out that direction? Is that sort of what we're envisioning?
Yes, the intent of this design is really to keep traffic flowing for parents along Eberly Drive, but only to the left of that new parent loop. So parents would enter the middle school, Eberly Drive, they would make a right-hand turn along the loop, and then the new parking area is also a drive, so they would.
So they would enter, so if I'm looking at the map, they're entering
Yeah,
from
I
the
know.
left side?
Yeah. So,
Do you mind coming?
it's almost like I don't know which way to come and point, if I should point here. So I'll just use this. The parents would come down here, they come around, okay, and they actually come down, circle around, and they queue along here, so you can see that dark purple, that's actually the
Queue.
sidewalk, right? So that would accommodate parents dropping off, queuing, dropping off. So there's all the cars stacking along here. They would pull all the way out as they drop their students off. They would come back up, out towards Eberly Drive. They can only make a left-hand turn during the drop-off pickup hours. So they would exit this way, back out. Buses.
So just let me stop you there. So is our goal then to direct all of the traffic to be coming in from where it doesn't normally come in?
So,
Okay.
sorry, as a parent of middle schoolers and high schoolers, then you would come in and do your middle school loop and then go back out and kind of do the high school the way the high school is now.
Go back out and
So you do kind of two loops. Okay.
yes, and then the bus traffic and teacher traffic would come in to Eberly Drive this way, they would come around here, they would make that loop, and then they would exit.
So nobody's coming in from Park Place?
Correct.
That is correct, and I know it's difficult to see on the drawing, so there's a gate down here, right? So, that's the little detail here that we're showing, and then closer here, the trees, marking it as a point back here, there's a gate, you can see the sign that's saying security gates there.
So that would only be open for like emergency situations or something like that? Yeah. All right, so teachers coming in, whatever, they're all coming in on the new access road. Okay.
When they come out of Everly and hit Row Road and they want to turn left, what's going to keep that from jamming?
Up here,
No, you're going to turn left there and come out to hit Row Road, and I want to turn left to go out to Route 11. What's going to keep that from jamming?
I think the district is working with the transportation coordinator to identify what additional needs beyond what's here is going to happen.
Because you got all the high school kids going straight through there, constantly going to the back. Plus what's coming in, you got to be able to turn. If you want to take your kid to the high school after you drop somebody at the middle school,
Sure.
you may not get out because somebody up in front of you might want to turn left on Row Road to go to Route 11. Just throwing it out there.
I hate those people that are turning left on Row Road.
A&W provided this design, and the district was working to try to identify if traffic control in some way, either not necessarily crossing road, but
We could repurpose our traffic monitoring.
there, just during the drop off. We're only talking about like, half hour in the morning, half hour in the afternoon.
And we do have
You're
some
not talking
traffic
long.
control capacity. Mr.
You're not
Parker.
talking long, but I could see it getting jammed. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of kids and a lot of people going to the back. And all it's gonna take is 2 or 3 cars wanting to turn left, go to Route 11. I can see that whole loop getting jammed up.
So, yeah, so we're anticipating, so with the ability to queue and stack traffic, stacking or vehicles stacking along here.
Large cars.
It will alleviate a lot of that pressure that you see now, where people are just stacking up, they're getting really frustrated, and just kind of, trying to enter the
So I think we all know that like the current situation is horrible, right? And it needs improvement. We just all really want to be sure that when we're throwing money at this thing, that like the problem is actually solved, right? That we're not like introducing new problems with the old, because that would make us all very sad. So
You wanna show them what
yeah,
the special
helping
needs
us
band comes up.
helping us to visualize how this will work. I mean, now or in the future will be very helpful.
Mr. Wolfinger brought up a good point. We do have a way to then further separate additional traffic, which is the special needs band. And that is this entrance here. They come down here, we provided this little turnaround, so they come in, drop the students off, and then they turn around and they kind of head back out. So we do kind of going one level deeper, trying to really keep all those different types of traffic as separate as possible and make it as efficient as possible for everyone who's trying to access or
I think to Jim's point, too, right now we have a lot of buses coming in Row Road and then turning in, they're turning right off of Row Road onto Eberly, which then would also slow people down who are trying to turn left.
Right.
So if they're all not doing that and they're all just doing their own little loop coming from the other direction, that may alleviate some of it too. Because what makes it difficult to turn there a lot of times is the incoming bus traffic as well. Sorry, I do this every morning and I think about it a lot.
certainly imagine. So, not that long ago, I was living in a school district where transit buses, it was all pedestrian, cycling, fair traffic, and KNW was able to provide a similar type of approach to traffic queuing and separation, and it's worked out tremendously well. So this is, the efficiency alone, being able to provide the buses the ability, their own entrance, quickly kind of circulate between the two schools and then exit without having to mingle with a lot of like pedestrian and vehicular traffic with parents also kind of fighting for, every inch of driveway is I think going to help tremendously.
Will there be excavation for that for that thing in the front of the junior high where you're parking? Will there be excavation? They're moving dirt.
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah, we have to make this a balanced site, because we're increasing the size of the, current existing parking lot to make way not just for additional parking, but also for that parent lane, where they can cycle around. Yeah, so that will grow, you see it start to increase, in size.
Is there any chance when you do this that you can make a level spot for the kids to play kickball on that instead of on a hillside?
That would be an additional design
That cost then.
cost, yeah.
Don't haul no dirt away. Fill it in.
So it has to be a balanced site, so wherever we're excavating, we'll have to fill,
Yeah.
right, as well. So we have to make sure that site is balanced, and then we have to consider, of course, the impact of leveling the site, right? Because then we have to make sure that water or moisture will not accumulate and things like that. So maybe that's a little bit of feedback that we can give to KNW during.
If it's too expensive or not, but I just get frustrated when I ride down there and see the kids playing kickball on a hillside or trying. And what 2 years ago they had to bring walking sticks because they couldn't do exercise or anything. So I just like to have some flat area for them.
It's an interesting comment, because on the other hand, I really appreciate the sort of, I don't know, quasi-natural area that's right there off of 11, and you get a different feel than you would in I don't know, I like it.
So just in regard to this, I would just say two things. One, this is like a really challenging site to work on to fix all these problems. So there's probably not the solution that fixes everything is probably hover cars, and we certainly can't afford those now. And we are taking pressure off that intersection where there's 3 stops and one's not, and there's a lot of foot traffic there, and it's just that spot concerns me, and so I think getting traffic through there quickly and more safely, is going to be a win for us as well.
Okay, I think we can move on. I'm so sorry. I think I touched the slide screen, so that might have made it a little off-center. So as we begin talking about our update for the the upcoming middle school and high school additions and renovation projects, I just wanted to clarify kind of where we are. Construction projects typically have, at a very high level, 4 phases: the design phase, the bid phase, construction, and closeout. And I just wanted to take a second and kind of highlight what those phases are. Next slide, please. We are right now in kind of the first stage. It's the first stage of design, and that is called the either programmatic or schematic design phase. Okay, and typically the design phase is made up of 3 different design phases. It's the programmatic and schematic, and then that takes us to the design development phase, which brings us then to the construction document phase, And right now what that means is your architect, your civil engineers, your MEP engineers, SiteLogic, we are all meeting individually together and also with the district to kind of refine, get feedback from the district, and then update drawings and design considerations. So that's where we are right now. We are very close to the end of the schematic design and estimate, and then what that means is once we kind of finalized and all those pieces that we've been talking about that were kind of moving around have been solidified, we're in the process of estimating it, and then we will come to you at a future board meeting very, very soon and provide you with the design estimate at the schematic level. As you can see, we have meetings that occur bi-monthly with the district, but we're traditionally just meeting every week on your projects, talking about them, developing them, and all of these project considerations that we're talking about at the high school and middle school also take into account your discussions and what's going on at the stadium project. You can also use this graphic as a little bit of a way to understand when there will be an action required by you, the board. So the little star that I've incorporated into this graphic lets you know that you will be asked to vote to approve the design so we can move forward to the next stage of design. So next month when we come to you, talk about the schematic design, you can say, yes, we approve it, or no, don't. Go back to the drawing board and fix this, but we cannot move forward with the design unless the board votes for us to move forward. And then after the design is complete, you will then vote to say, yes, please proceed with bidding out the projects. And then after that, you will vote to approve the construction phase to start. So just want to let you know, there's going to be a little bit of anticipation on your part to have those board votes, and then the reason that we're doing this is it allows us at a very, very, very granular level to really control the design and the budget and get your approval on what you want to spend your money on as far as the projects are concerned.
So just to reiterate, I heard that there are 2 votes then on design. It's like we have kind of a rough draft that we're working on right now, and then we say, like, make the final draft. That's a vote. That's the first star.
So the first star is to go from schematic to design development. So schematic is like 30 to 50% level of detail in your drawing. So just enough to say, yeah, this looks good. We're kind of getting where we need to. And then after design, we do another level of detail, which will get us to the construction document, which is like 80 to 100%.
But I'm just wondering, just in terms of setting expectations, I can imagine that there might be some changes
Yes.
between those 2 stars, right? So we like sort of vote on one thing and it looks like, oh, this is our schematic. And then later, after we do the sort of more detailed work, we find out like, oh, we had to change a few things here and there. And so probably we should expect that that's a sort of normal thing that would
Yes.
happen.
That is a very typical process. That's actually exactly what happens during this whole process, and we would expect it to happen. Otherwise, we wouldn't be good listeners in incorporating appropriate feedback from our clients, our school district.
But then that second star is like the vote where we're kind of like locking it in. Like, this is what we can expect
Yes.
when the building's done or whatever.
Yeah, that second vote between design, development, and construction, very little would change, right? Between those two phases, it would just almost be more of kind of a formality to say, yep, we agree, this is what we're looking at, we all understand what was discussed.
I really appreciate this timeline, and you'll probably have to remind us again of this whole conversation that we just
Great.
had the last 5 minutes because we have short memories, but thank you.
Sure, as we proceed through the different phases, I'll highlight them and we'll keep our little timeline. And next time we'll have hopefully more definitive dates that I can populate on here so everyone understands what that is. And just a reminder of what we are discussing at the middle school and high school. We've provided some of those facility priorities. A lot of these were identified during SiteLogic and EI's study. And then a lot of the feedback that we received from the board as to the priorities that they'd like to see at the high school. I'm not going to take everyone's time reading every single bullet point, but it is consistent with everything that we've been discussing, and happy to answer any questions if you have them.
And Melissa, I just want to re-emphasize for the board that list of priorities that we established are taken care of in this design program.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I just want to say it's super exciting to finally see kind of like these late nights and indigestion like finally come to fruition, and it's beautiful. Just remind the board at our board retreat, we were talking about kind of the space and how, you know, that can engage our students. So to see that this is one step closer to the profile of a grad and to where we're trying to move as a district is super exciting. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Everly. I appreciate that comment. Okay, I think just a little bit of housekeeping for the next slide. So discussion and approvals, really for SiteLogic, what you'll be discussing tonight or what we have up for discussion is our construction management contract. And also change orders number 9 through 12 for the current middle school project. Approvals for us follow, later this month on those same two agenda items. But just as a note for a little bit of detail, the construction management contract is for $903,388. This encompasses not just the design and bidding phase, but also the construction and closeout phases. So this is for our full services of construction for your middle school, high school projects. The change order information, just very high level, overall for the project, preliminary adds and deducts are showing just an overall add of over $7,000, but the district will have back in their account approximately $45,000 to $47,000, depending on, finalizing a few of those change orders. I know a little bit later next month, Rochelle, who is our director of operations for this project, is going to meet with Christy just to kind of close out and finalize a lot of those administrative details. Questions on this?
Melissa, from SiteLogic, who will we primarily be working with, if this is approved by the board?
For the construction project, your staff will stay the same. So it'll be myself, Mike Arnold, who this board has not had the opportunity to meet, but the administration has as our project executive. Rochelle Fennell, who is here with me, I think 2 months ago, as the director of operations, and then our site superintendents will remain consistent with who is on this middle school project. I'm very happy about that because I think that they did an incredible job on your middle school project, and we were really able to shorten and condense the timeline for completion ahead of schedule in time for the students and staff to come back to school. So,
Thank you.
yes. That's all that I have, unless there are additional questions.
I think there's one more slide I populated. So the other project, mine again aren't as catchy slides as Melissa's, but I wanted to run folks where we are with this, the stadium project. But basically, and Melissa, jump in here. I know you're not a part of this project officially, but if I'm saying anything that's nonsensical, please correct me. So a similar phase, sketch plan phase. land development phase, erosion and sediment control phase, and then building and construction. We are, I believe, complete with the sketch plan phase. We know, and I think the board has seen some drawings of the turf field, the new track, and the bleachers. The bleacher numbers are 1,190 for home, 747 for the away bleachers. We're now in the land development phase, and based on the timeline I saw, the erosion and sediment controls kind of go together at the same time. This is where we are working with the borough to get the permitting and all the stuff that we need to be able to move forward to construction. I think everyone here knows, issues of parking and stormwater management are on the table, and we've got to figure out the best way to make that work. Certainly parking is a concern, here now. And I would encourage the board to understand that the project that we have on the table is for what you see under the sketch plan phase. We have talked about expanding the stadium and adding an additional 750 seats, I believe, getting us closer to 3,000. That is not what we are working on currently, but we are cognizant, and KNW is making sure that we have the ability to get there if and when, or let me back that if out of there, when we have the funds to continue that project. Okay, so we are working, with the borough. There's a meeting set up this week. I think from our last meeting, my directive to KNW was to talk more frequently with the borough so that they're not drawing things in vain, and that we're not getting frustrated back and forth. So trying to facilitate communication between our engineers and their ordinance people, so that we can get what is needed, that meets their requirements, which, and I'll say this publicly, there are ordinances there for a good reason. And there are things that we need to do to make this site as functional as possible. We just need to work with them to make that happen. So that meeting is scheduled for this week. I'm planning on attending the Borough Council meeting tomorrow to kind of just continue that open communication. And this project, even though KNW is kind of like, this is its own separate thing, I think it's important to get that mental picture. So the middle school project is EI and SiteLogic and ECC. That's coming to a close. EI is working on the design features for our continued middle school and our high school project. Depending on, hopefully, the contract with SiteLogic comes on and they become just like same model that we had for the middle school. We continue through, and we've already developed those relationships, and we can stay on track and on timeline. But the stadium kind of sits over here. Now, the interesting part is EI uses KW or SiteLogic uses KNW, as you may remember from the last slide. So there is communications there. Because they all kind of know each other, we are asking, and they've already said, we want to integrate these projects so that we're not stepping on each other's toes, and that it can really be looked at as maybe a bigger holistic project, so that the parking that we need for the school also fits for the stadium, and things align. So I just wanted the board to know that we are integrating the different bodies and having them align their efforts. Questions on the stadium project?
So are there decision points here for the board?
There are similar ones. I don't have them mapped out.
I was just going to say, I was going to ask where Melissa's stars are.
I'm fresh out of stars right now, Dr. Goetz, but once we get some approvals from the borough, we'll come back to the board for approval.
Well, and they're trying to narrow down how many parking places it is that we need, both for the first phase of the stadium and then when we do the second phase.
Yeah.
That number.
Correct. It's a similar timeline. I just didn't lay it out. And we're going to have bi-weekly updates on this. I'll get that information out to you. Timelines that are on there. We expect the land development to be done in November. We expect the erosion and sediment control to be done in December. We expect to bid this in March. and have a functioning athletic facility September of 2024. Understand that's going to undercut and be a challenge, with track and other spring sports. But at the end of the day, if we're heading towards a project that, is a marked improvement, we're going to have to just kind of suck it up for that time and figure it out.
I guess what I'm asking is there, should I install a star between the sketch plan phase and the land development phase?
I would do it maybe after the land development phase, because that's going to be the total project. We know what the borough's requiring. The design will, even though I said the sketch plan phase is kind of over, it's not really over until we know exactly what the borough's requiring. So that will be done, and then I will, they or K&W will present that along with the cost for that project.
So the next decision point is really before the bidding and construction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Imagine a star in between there.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Yep. Any other questions on stadium? All right. Lauren, thank you, Melissa. So as Lauren comes forward, I just want to say she's a trooper. She's coming in hot from Philadelphia, and is not going to sound the greatest unless you've had a increase of health.
I have not.
Okay.
I feel fine. I just sound bad. So I'm going to spare you a PowerPoint and my voice, but I'm here this evening to discuss our SOAR program that we started last school year. SOAR stands for Student Options for Acquiring Resiliency, and it started as a collaboration with five total districts from Franklin County. It's Shippensburg, Waynesboro, Greencastle, Tuscarora, and Fannett Meadow. And as we were meeting collaboratively, we really identified a need for other options for students for out-of-district therapeutic options. So we went to a provider. That provider happens to be Folium Inc., and they have several subsets that you probably know or have heard more often, Laurel Life, a bunch of different options for them. And Folium houses the program. We started the program in March 13th of this past school year. Shippensburg purchased 4 slots. We were able to fill all of our spots within a couple of weeks of initiation, so we've been at 100% utilization after the first month. All of the other districts, except one, have also been able to reach max utilization. Of course, the start time staggered throughout the 2.5 months that they were in existence, but everyone, with the exception of one district, was able to reach max utilization. The program is combined of a teacher, a behavior coach, and a master's level therapist. For the students who attended the program, in those 2.5 months, there was 110 individual therapy sessions delivered and an average of 2 times a day group therapy. Looking into next school year, we have budgeted for 5 slots at the program. Several of our other district partners have increased their slot usage or project to increase their slot usage. If all of our projections come to, based on our agreements, our program will grow from 14 last year to 19. That will drop our per student usage rate down to approximately $18,500. Comparatively to other out of districts, that's a pretty low price point. So we're feeling good about that. One point of feedback that we and other districts had for Folium was to incorporate a drug and alcohol component for those students that may have that need. I did hear back last week that has been included for students with an identified need for drug and alcohol therapy as a group therapy option. So that was translated. The total costs, I think I kind of glazed over this, for next school year is $352,000. You can quickly divide that by 19 student slots. Annual cost is about $18,500. What questions can I answer for you?
And I would just point out, this is a point of, I think, somewhat of pride of Shippensburg leading the Franklin County schools in a cooperative endeavor. And, I see, and Lauren and I have talked about ways that we can continue to share resources and share slots. So that, if we have an opening in one of our programs and, Greencastle has an opening in theirs, we can get agreement together that we can send our students to our programs, maxing them out, but also lowering costs to ourselves as well. So I think we're looking to take those steps this year, but this program has opened the door to have those conversations, particularly, with the success that we've seen in it.
What students would be in this class?
So we had 4 students in the class. Typical student profiles, a student who needs additional therapy component. We have used some of our slots for students with policy violation, where we've placed them out of the district for 45 days. But truly the need was more therapeutic as opposed to any other type of need. So we have used it in that capacity. For this school year, we have one of our students who was a policy violation will be returning to the district. We have another student who therapeutically is looking to return to the district should our high school star position be approved this evening. Therapeutically, he is at a point where that student can return. We already have 4 students on the referral base for the 2023-2024 school year. So it's really looking at students who need a heavy therapy component.
What was the percentage? How many, you say 4. Is there more than 4 needed? I mean, is there more students? Do you have more students than you have availability?
For next year, we're looking at an increase in 5. We're hoping that our STAR program will support some of those needs in-house so that we don't always have to send students out of district.
Okay.
And that's on the agenda tonight, Fred.
Okay. No, I didn't know what, I saw the stars
Yep.
and I was, that gave me a better idea.
Physically, where does this take place?
It's at the old Manitou building on Browns Mill Road.
In Chambersburg?
Yes.
Okay. And you sort of gave a number of around 18,000. Just for comparative purposes, what are our more expensive placements?
So that does not include transportation costs, but ballpark 30 to 40,000.
And do some go higher?
Oh, yeah, 70, 80, 90.
That's what I thought. Okay, so this is a substantial cost savings to be involved in this and to sort of leading the way in this.
Anytime we can consortium,
Right.
there's a cost savings. So, of course, we're involved in a very active consortium with our Cumberland County partners, maybe one of the most elite consortium. I think we're kind of a model for other consortiums. As Mr. August said, that's the hope to also, because we straddle, to also build some capacity in our Franklin County partnerships. I think this was a really good first step.
Yeah, the Cumberland County one is awesome. Geographically, we are kind of an outlier. So a lot of the schools that are participating, the distance to the programs is a burden. So it makes sense to look to districts that are closer and our neighbors.
So if my advanced math skills are working right, then that's about, if you had 4 slots last year and 2 of the students are planning on returning to that's a 50% success rate with a fairly difficult population. And that sounds pretty promising. Is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, one student, it was a policy violation of 45-day. But that student, I believe if you would ask that family, they've been very happy with the supports and services. One of the things that is interesting about this program is that each district is using their own cyber program in order to facilitate the student back so that there's no educational disruption academically.
Any other questions for Lauren? Lauren, you're a trooper. You sounded great. Appreciate you making this happen. Thank
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
In lieu of Dr. Goetz, maybe kind of end this and take maybe a little break before we start the regular meeting.
Not what I wanted to do, but ain't that. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Who don't? Somebody find it on both sides of things. So that's incredible. Well, this new plan is better. So the sewer thing, like, programs are now still in place. So SOAR and STAR. Those are two different things. That's what I was confused. Yep. Yep. So STAR is in-house. STAR is us. I got it. We got to do better with our acronyms.
Acronyms.
Yeah.
I think they should have been doing grants on this stuff.
Remembered about changes in the executive session.
Raymond, are you gonna do the no negative vote?
I am not going to do it that way.
What happened?
That okay?
There's a whole lot of things that are never gonna happen. It's like a Peace Garden. Why don't we just go with that?
Someone said it kind of helps put them on the spot. Makes you speak up.
All you do is slip on corridors all the time.
You still have to say. The good thing now, though, is we're going to reroute.
Any negative votes? If hearing none, you move on.
That's true.
Whatever. Either way, I'm just going to go with my preference. The color's blue.
Preamble. One of them two ladies down there, the new assistant principal, superintendent.
Here with the flower shirt. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows back.
Yeah.
Second person.
Okay.
Just yesterday, right?
Well, it is. Just scored it. Plus 2-1 while I looked.
All right, looks like it is 8 o'clock, so we'll call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone, to this Planning and Action meeting of the School Board of the Shippensburg Area School District. If you would all join me, or wait a second, we need a roll call first.
Let me jump in on that.
Sorry, I should have waited till all the pieces were in place. I thought that.
Nope, no worries. Mr. Jim Bard,
Here.
Mr. Levi Kressler,
Here.
Dr. Michael Lyman,
Here.
Mr. Kirk Noggle. Mr. Fred Scott.
Here.
Mr. Charlie Suiters.
Here.
Mrs. Becky Wolfinger.
Here.
Mrs. Steph Eberly.
Here.
Dr. Nathan Goetz.
Here. Thank you, Mr. August. Now, if you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we begin our deliberations this evening, let us once again be reminded of our duty to represent all of the children of this school community, regardless of age, sex, creed, race, and regardless of need or ability. A reminder that this meeting is being live streamed and uploaded to the district's YouTube channel. If we could now please have a moment of silence to reflect on our thoughts, plans, and actions on behalf of the students of Shippensburg Area School District, as well as in remembrance of Jeanette Miller, who is a 71 graduate, Paul Hockenberry, who is a 66 graduate, Garnet Stum, a 54 graduate, and River Cooper, a 2019 graduate. All right, before we move on, just to let the public know, let the record show that the board had a board conference / training on August the 12th. And prior to this meeting, the board had an executive session to discuss personnel issues. There are a couple of changes to the agenda. The first is item 4N. Under the consent agenda has to do with the American Reading Company. It's a proposal for a new classroom library, and the cost of the materials should read $6,440, not $1,750. Additionally, under the action agenda, item 5H should be deleted. This is actually a discussion agenda item. It is item 6F, which is on the agenda, so item 5H can be struck. So with those proposed changes, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Fred Scott, second.
Motion made by Ms. Wolfinger, a second by Mr. Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, we now to our first citizens comment period. This is the citizens comment period regarding items that are on the agenda. I believe we have two folks who have indicated that they would like to address the district. The first is Jen Enders. If you would please, when you come up, if you'd please identify yourself by name and address and indicate which agenda item you're speaking about. Remember to address all comments to the board as a whole and make sure they are in the form of a statement. Questions will be taken under advisement. Responses to questions will be offered after due deliberation and will be provided by the superintendent at the direction of the board within a few days of the board meeting. All commenters are allowed 3 minutes. Comments relative to private student matters or personnel issues should be directed to the appropriate school authority outside of this meeting. The presiding officer reserves the right to interrupt or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Ms. Enders.
Hi there, I am Jen Enders. I teach band and orchestra at the middle school. I live in Chambersburg.
No, that's fine.
Okay, I live in Chambersburg. And I am here talking about middle school construction, but I'm answering the question, why does the Shippensburg Area Middle School Department need more space? The SAMS Music Department does not have enough space at this point to function effectively, and we certainly do not have room to grow. With our current situation, there are safety concerns and loss of time. Now is the time to add needed space to the music wing at SAMS. Approximately 1/3 of the SAMS student body is involved in the music department. We have only 2 official rehearsal spaces currently, the band room and the auditorium. In those spaces, we have 11 different groups of students. sixth grade band, seventh and eighth band, sixth orchestra, seventh and eighth orchestra, sixth chorus, seventh and eighth chorus, sixth jazz band, seventh and eighth jazz band, accidental jazz choir, color guard, and the SAMS. There is lots of instruction time with setting up or tearing down a rehearsal space that will be used by another group, and there is loss of instructional time with a crossover of schedules and not being able to get into a space. Since the auditorium is our only other classroom space, no other teachers can use that space for large group instruction. Because we have such an active and growing music department, there are many safety concerns with how many students and the amount of equipment in the spaces at one time. The two small instrument storage rooms we have are not nearly adequate for all of the student instrument cases, so they end up all over the floor. There is no real dedicated space for storage of larger instruments, equipment, and uniforms, so we end up with things all over the place. The perimeter of the band room, the back and wings of the stage, space going from the classroom across the hall, and equipment has to get moved all the way to the basement and off season. There is no official space to store band uniforms or musical costumes and sets. We sometimes even end up storing things in the hallway, which is another safety concern. This coming school year, the 7-8 band alone will have 75 to 80 students with instruments and cases in a band room that was never built for that many students. On the same day, there will also be sixth grade jazz band in the auditorium, which is another 30 students and instruments with setup and tear down time. Every day is like this with space and time crossovers. The 7-8 orchestra will have 45 students with 45 chairs and stands that will have to be set up and tear down every day, one for rehearsal and lessons on stage due to the sixth band utilizing the band room that day, which is set to have 65 to 70 students. We have honestly already outgrown the limited spaces at SAMS. We've been making do for many years, but to continue to grow the programs and keep everyone safe, we need at least one more large rehearsal space, and we really need more storage for instruments and equipment. Since there are already active construction programs and projects at SAMS, now is the time to expand the spaces to allow for growth, more learning, more involvement, and for everyone to remain safe. And as a quick aside, we currently will not have enough chairs. I think that Jeremy Barnes, that was a discussion that we had. There were many chairs that were borrowed, and I'm not sure if there's chairs anywhere, but just as a side note, we don't have enough chairs for this coming year for the music department.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders. Appreciate those comments. Amy Jones.
Good evening. My name is Amy Jones. I live up on Forest Ridge Road. I am the assistant band director here at the high school, and I substitute majorly within the music department. And I'm here to speak to the same issue as Mrs. Enders about the spaces at the middle school. So it was good to hear that the middle school music building expansion is still being discussed. I would like to speak in support of this expansion. This is an improvement that the middle school has needed for a very long time. As you plan this expansion, please consider an expansion that will house a future number of students and not just the current number of students in the program. I've worked as a substitute within the middle school music department and have found it to be confusing and frustrating. The lack of space makes it difficult to function for students and teachers alike. Students do not have enough space in the instrument storage room to store their instruments, and the need to store them either at their seat or along the entry hall wall. This complicates the fact that there are already too many chairs and stands crammed into the room to accommodate the number of students in the larger groups. Not having space to move around, especially during rehearsals, creates a greater risk of instrument damage or injury to students, as they can easily trip over larger cases that have nowhere else to be stored. There's also the issue of instructional spaces for lessons. When substituting, the location of lessons becomes an issue. Due to the need for larger percussion instruments in some lessons, I often need to change locations from having lessons on the stage to having lessons in the band room. This can further get complicated when lessons on the stage, and there is an assembly in the auditorium that I was unaware of. This happened one time, and suddenly there was nowhere to take students for their lesson. A few years ago, Mr. Piper's keyboard lab was moved into the old shop, and his former room became a small ensemble lesson room. This was a much-needed relief from some of the space struggles and allowed lessons and rehearsals to happen in the same spaces on a regular basis. I was sorry to find out when we returned from the quarantine that it had been turned into a regular classroom. Later, I was excited to hear that the music wing was going to be expanded and updated, and that disappointed when it was no longer in the current expansion project. I was hoping that not having the ensemble room was only going to last for 1 year, but unfortunately that was not the case, and this past year, things were worse than before. In the past, the jazz bands have had rehearsal in the pit in the auditorium, except when that ensemble room was available, and have been allowed to keep it somewhat set up between the rehearsals. This past year, the jazz students had to do major setup and tear down for every rehearsal to clear the space for course rehearsals and other things. This setup and tear down costs valuable rehearsal instruction time, and this will come at a greater cost of instructional time in this coming school year because the school schedule has changed and the rehearsal time in general will be shorter. If you really support the musical arts in our district and want the program to grow, there needs to be space for it to grow. Students are not going to want to participate in a program where they are unsafe, uncomfortable, very cramped, and where they have to continuously set up and tear down chairs and stands and other equipment. To sum all this up, there is a major lack of instructional space and storage in the middle school that needs to be addressed before the music program there can expand. The number of students participating in music is beginning to rise since returning from the quarantine, and soon there will truly not be enough space to house them. I don't have time here to address all the benefits that participating in a music ensemble has on a student, but the more opportunities students have to participate in a music ensemble in a welcoming and spacious environment, the more students we will have participating, and the effects on the student body as a whole will be very positive. At this time, a constructive step for success in the middle school would be to return the use of John Piper's previous space back to the middle school music teachers as an ensemble room. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. We appreciate that.
Just one general statement, not directed to you, Ms. Jones, in general. Board, through the schematic design process, that music space has been, back on the table. So just so the board knows, that's the benefit of going through that design process, is we were able to prioritize things and create that additional space for music. So it's in the plans. Those need to be finalized and approved by the board.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sorry, did you?
As I say, can I just, in that space coming, the current space, that's why I was asking if there's any way possible to get that room that's down by the band room back for the use, because that was, like I said, a very much needed relief from space issues that were down there. Things flowed from lesson to lesson. Students knew where they were supposed to go. Equipment could stay where it needed to be, and it was just very much helpful.
Okay, thank you. Are there any others that wish to comment on an agenda item? Okay. All right. Reports. I think, is there a report from the Franklin County Career Center?
Meeting is this week.
Meeting is this week. Great. I think there were 3 board committees that met. The policy committee.
Yeah, so the policy committee met on Wednesday, the 19th. What you see on the agenda tonight, 27 policies. We vetted those, and we do recommend those for approval. They are on the discussion agenda, and we are finally officially through the 200s. Yay. So, very exciting.
Terrific. Transportation committee.
Yep, so going back, the Transportation Committee actually met on July 17th, and that one was discussing a lot of things. I think it was the 17th, I could be wrong. It's listed there. 19th. That one discussed, I believe, contractual issues, and then we actually had another meeting this past Friday. We met Friday afternoon, again discussing contractual issues, also discussed some routing things, and then which busing company, like what the usage is, how many routes we have. We have our main provider and 2 other ones that we supplement with, and what those companies are doing for us, but in terms of athletics and field trips and all those things. So basically, there's a lot of contract negotiations, making sure that we were okay with it, which those at that meeting on Friday were. Hence, I believe they are on here for the agenda to vote tonight.
Yeah, there's been a lot of transportation-related issues this summer. The Transportation Committee has been doing a lot of work in that, and want to extend my appreciation on behalf of everyone for the work that you've been doing in vetting those issues and proposals. Then finally, the Facilities Committee did not meet Thursday, July 20th.
Yeah, we did.
Is there a report from the Facilities Committee?
We meet? I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah, we met. So we had a meeting and Daryl came with some information about some lock options for rekeying the locks. So I don't know between then and now, though, if some of this has already come to the board for votes, as it has been.
I don't believe so.
Not
Yeah, I
since
don't think
July
that-
20th.
So anyway, there was discussion about the quote to rekey plus a new key machine. We also discussed putting back the badge scanner by the athletic store.
That's been completed.
That's been completed. There was a lot of talk about light bulbs, which I don't think we landed on a decision as to which way we want to go, but I think that's all kind of a part of the process moving forward. And then we did talk about a field robot being purchased. That was $45,000, or it could be worked out over 7 years, which would save an immense amount of money potentially for the district because of we currently pay somebody to come out to paint the fields or to do lines on the fields initially. They use
With
a
a
robot.
similar robot.
They use a robot. And then our maintenance department has to go and then maintain the lines and mow going forward. And so we're talking about, constantly having maintenance people going out to paint those when we could just send a robot out there. So it could save a lot of potential man hours that the maintenance could be doing other tasks. That was all the notes I took.
And that robot painter is on the discussion item tonight.
There you go. Perfectly timed.
At the end of the meeting, excuse me, I asked for discussion about the facilities, looking into providing better facilities for our maintenance people. That red barn, if you haven't been there, you need to go there. We got equipment falling through the floor.
It's on the list of things to do, Mr. Scott. We need to look for solutions.
Oh.
All right, that brings us to the superintendent report.
Thank you, Dr. Goetz. Want to give the enrollment update. Now, this is from August 1st. And so, we've talked internally. These numbers are from August 1st, I'm sorry. And so they are rapidly changing as more students enroll. So just to run through, 11,001 students at the elementary level, 549 students at our intermediate building, 824 students at our middle school, and 11,017 students at our high school with 21 at IU or Lincoln IU placements for a grand total of 3612. Just for the board's perspective, that is 149 more students this year than last year. And in talking with Dr. Stevens, the real number is probably about 3641 with 50 more students in the queue. So that number is as high as that number will fluctuate when we get third day enrollment and students that we haven't known have moved, we take them off our rolls. So, we're definitely on the upward climb with student enrollment.
I don't mean to put you on the spot with this, but I'm going to anyway, I guess.
Okay.
Those 150 more students, are they sort of equally distributed across the grades, or are we seeing, are they younger,
I think
older?
it's a normal distribution, Dr. Goetz, without going in, looking at the numbers from the different buildings, it appears that they're each kind of growing at a similar level.
Okay, just wanted
But
to
I
be
don't
clear. So
have
that-
definitive.
So it suggests like more people moving into the area rather than like more young, like more kids going into kindergarten necessarily.
I would say that's correct, sir.
Do you happen to know, or roughly, if like some of like those, what did you say, 149 new
48.
kids, 48, whatever it was, new kids, like how many of those, hopefully, are kids that were doing cyber charter? That have we been successful at all in trying to get some of those kids back?
We haven't looked at those numbers yet, Mr. Kressler, but that's something we can look into and try to get some numbers for. Account balances for the board's edification. Just normal reporting out of activity funds on a quarterly basis. For the high school, $86,250.21 in the high school activity fund. The middle school currently has $46,831.38. The intermediate school has $14,940.62. James Byrd has $3,064.16, and Nancy Grayson has $4,147.34 for account balances, and those are attached as well. Moving on to 4CC. I'm sure he was not going to be super pleased with me, but I do want to take a moment to recognize Mr. Suiters. The PSBA has recognized his years of service with us. He's put in countless hours and many years dedicated to the district, and I would like to take this opportunity to present him with a certificate from the Pennsylvania School Boards Association for 16 years of service towards the community. So, Mr. Suiters, on behalf of Pennsylvania School Board Association, thank you. On behalf of our school board and community, thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
It's a really long time.
Most of those 16 hours have taken place in the last 16 years have been the last 2, right? Yeah. Donation report, an anonymous books for use in the Shippensburg Intermediate School Library and for the ARC book bins, approximate value $42. Dr. David R. Landis recently published picture book entitled Robbie to the Rescue to be placed in the libraries at Grace B. Loors University School, Nancy Grayson and James Byrd. Approximate value of the donation is $60. Shippensburg's Lions Club, monetary donation in support of Shippensburg Area High School Facility Dog Program of a value of $500. I'm sorry. And that concludes my formal report. I just did want to give out a shout out and let the board know that induction day 1 took place today. We'll have a follow-up day tomorrow, well attended, certainly bringing on a lot of great people. Want to give a shout to the profile of a grad. A thought exchange was sent out. That is posted on our website. If the community or staff want to go on and just give feedback on it, you can just go right directly to the front page. And then just a general thanks to all of our departments, custodial, maintenance, transportation, HR, our enrollment folks, the business department, our CAF folks. Summer for many people looks like a downtime. For those departments and all others, it is a time of incredible effort and energy, particularly those working in the middle school, working around and through some challenging situations. So they have my thanks and recognition for their efforts. So thank you, Dr. Coates.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. We're going to divide this into a few parts here. I'm going to go through items A through U, and then I'll ask if anyone wants to take anything separately, and then we'll entertain motions. Item 4A is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Item 4B is finance reports. Item 4C are the updated handbooks, which have been diligently updated to be consistent with our changes in policy, and I just want to applaud all those who did a lot of hard work to make that happen. Item 4D is regarding a gift from the Nancy Grayson PTO, who wishes to donate $5,500 to support the Nancy Grayson Elementary School Playground Equipment Project. And then item 4E is another gift from the high school band boosters, which wishes to donate nearly $3,000 in drumline and color guard supplies for use by the senior high school marching band. Item 4F is an MOA between the district and the association regarding long-term substitutes. Item 4G is the creation of a STAR teacher at Sashus. STAR not to be confused with SOAR, which we learned about earlier. Item 4H is the creation of the STAR classroom assistant at the high school as well. Item 4I is an addendum to the letter of agreement for Title I non-public school services with the Lincoln Intermediate Unit. Item 4J, agreement with New Story for special education services. New Story School operates private licensed school in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. New Story provides educational services with special education requirements. Item 4K is an agreement with the Vista School. During the past school year, 2 students attended the Vista School and and so this is for the services to extend. And I just want to make sure we have these dates right. It is just like from July 6th to August 10th that have already happened, or is this?
I believe so.
Okay. And then item 4L is a proposal with Cengage Learning, the renewal of the Cengage Inside Digital Resources to assist our ESL teachers with their work. Item 4M is an agreement for continued consulting services. So this is approval of the agreement to retain Allison Huber as a consultant and special education compliance monitor. And item 4N is an agreement with the American Reading Company that I mentioned earlier. The cost of materials is $6,440. Item 4O is the final placement contract for the high school facility dog. Administration recommends approving the final placement contract for Meadow, who is a yellow Labrador Retriever facility dog at the high school. Meadow has passed her compliance test and has received her new facility dog vest. Item 4P is the renewal of iReady Math and Reading, which is part of our curriculum materials. Item 4Q is an MOU with Shippensburg University regarding the ShipStart dual enrollment program, which is a continuation of that program. Item 4R is an agreement for, actually this looks like, is this the same or is this for a different time period?
First one was retroactive.
The first one's right.
All right, the first one is retroactive. So item 4R is administration recommends the approval of the agreement to retain Allison Huber as a consultant to provide advice and assistance to the district, and that goes through the end of this fiscal year, so June 30th, 2024. Item 4S is in regards to the student handbooks, recommending approval of those student handbooks. Item 4T is disposal of obsolete textbooks, the disposal of outdated ready math books, which are part of the elementary school curriculum. And then finally, item 4U is an agreement with Johnson Controls to continue a 3-year service agreement to provide factory authorized service, inspection, safety checks, winterization, and startup for, I don't know, is this like HVAC controls?
Yes, sir.
Okay. With the York chillers. Got it. Okay. All right. Are there any of these items, 4A through 4U, that anyone would like to take separately from the others?
4M.
All right. Well, 4M,
R.
4R. All right. Then I will entertain a motion to approve items 4A through 4L, and then 4N through 4Q, as well as 4S, 4T, and 4U. Is there such a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Suiters. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Lyman. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item 4M, is there a motion to approve item 4M, the agreement for continued consulting services? This is the retroactive agreement to retain Allison Huber as consultant and special education compliance monitor. A motion to approve item 4M?
So moved.
Motion made by Dr. Lyman,
Fred Scott, second.
second by Mr. Scott. Discussion? All right, no discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Nay? Is that a nay? Nay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jim Bard,
No.
Mr. Levi Kressler,
Yes.
Dr. Michael Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Fred Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Charlie Suiters,
No.
Mrs. Becky Wolfinger,
Yes.
Mrs. Steph Eberly,
Yes.
Dr. Nathan Goetz.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item 4R in regards to retaining Allison Huber as a consultant for the remainder of this fiscal year?
So moved.
Motion made by Dr. Lyman,
Second.
second by Mr. Kressler. Any discussion?
Yes, can somebody explain the position to me?
Sure. So Allison provides compliance monitoring. So a district our size, 20% of our students are special needs students. In addition to that, we have a number of 504s, which are similar to IEPs. They require meetings, they require to be written. These are often written at the building level through the counseling department. We felt that our counseling department is a little bit overwhelmed, and given their size, with the numbers that we have and within the special ed department, not having Allison's services is going to put us at liability for some compliance issues, which is really kind of a major cost avoidance. If the 504s are not written properly, then there's legal ramifications to them. If they're not adhered to or followed up, there can also be ramifications. Simply speaking, most districts our size have 3 to 4 special ed administrators and several support staff. The district, not to use that as a reference, the district I came from had 2 and then 2 support staff, and we have 2 and 1 support staff, and the counselors ran all 504s at the building level. So in order to keep us out of special ed jail or 504 jail, we need some extra support. These monies are already within the special ed department budget that we've approved. And not in addition to 504 compliance, Allison works with our ABA teachers to work on strategies where to assist with students who have high needs and high behavioral or emotional issues. She also does that work with our internal coaches. So she fills a lot of different roles for things that we don't have. We don't have instructional coaches, or at least that work with behavior. We don't have 504 support at the building level, and our 2 administrators simply do not have the time to sit in those meetings. Now when I say that, understand that the 504s need to be written. So it's not like a copy and paste. Someone has to physically write an individualized plan for that student. Most districts, or no districts that I'm familiar with, are the directors of those departments physically writing 504s. That would be like a superintendent writing a 504 or being involved in at the building level. It's just not functional. We have our 2 folks have worked extremely hard to keep up. And if we are not watching, for what is in these 504s and that they are being implemented, we stand at great risk for lawsuits. And Allison's job is to write good ones and make sure that they are followed through. And it's something we simply do not have capacity for with our 2 directors as it stands now, because they have the entire special ed side to run as well as homeless and other functions as well. Okay, so
She sees every one of these students.
she writes the programs, and yeah, I mean, she's responsible for them.
And interviews the students and knows them.
That's my understanding, Mr. Suiters.
Okay.
So she's running the 504s. So in order to do that, she has to review records and gather information. So I can't speak directly to how many she's met with face to face. I don't know that per se. But writing a 504 requires some digging into and getting to know the students' strengths and weaknesses.
Doesn't the teacher write them all?
No, teachers do not. They give input into IEPs and 504s, but they do not write them. Writing, it's a legal document that's being written. I think that's an important thing to understand. When we write an IEP or we write a 504, it is a legal document that binds us to those services. So it has to be done right. And if we miss deadlines, so there's two areas here that the board needs to know. So there's the parent. The parent comes forth and says you have not been following an IEP or a 504. That's one side where there's jeopardy if we're not doing this right. And the other side is the state comes in and monitors us. And so, the impetus for this push is also, we've had some issues in the past that we are trying to mitigate and fix. And Allison's time allows us to do that. I know there's a number attached to it. I know it may seem, kind of odd. But the alternative is to hire, is to hire someone to do this, or to push these 504s down on our counselors, who I think we've heard numerous times, are already burdened, and that doesn't help with the compliance piece. So she's doing a number of different things for us within that capacity. I've instructed Lauren to make sure that she does not go above those hours. The retro side of it was, if you may remember, we did, Lauren was out on maternity leave and Bethany left. So we had one person for a district our size. So keeping us in compliance, that's why we had to entertain her services, is to stem the tide of that, that work. Okay, so that's the retro piece. Moving forward, this is to get us right and get us squared away on the 504 side. And get that ABA support that we need at all classroom levels. Any other questions on that?
So, I mean, I understand IEPs and
504s.
504s. It's like it's a contract.
Yes, sir.
Between the parents and the school district that's sort of enforced by the state to make sure that the school is meeting the needs of these kids that have these needs.
Enforced by the state and their lawyers.
Yeah, right. And it's one of the places where we are most liable and open for suits if parents aren't satisfied with their.
Correct.
Okay.
So I mean, we have to make sure that we are dotting our I's and crossing our T's on these. And even when we do those, there still are there's still conflicts that we have to resolve.
How many days a week is she working for the district?
I think it's almost every day, a few hours in some capacity.
Okay. Well, that's kind of my, thinking through it, I'm a numbers person. So if she were working, let's say 7.5 hours a day, she would reach that $55,000 number in 98 days, which doesn't.
So it's definitely flexible, Mrs. Wolfinger. We do need to spread it out, and and I'm here to say it's not like she can solve all of our problems with this time.
Right.
Okay. Like in a number of our areas, for a district our size, there are staffing issues. When you are understaffed in your special ed department, it comes with extra problems potentially. So it's hard to calculate cost avoidance in something like this, but I can assure you, we've avoided costs, problems with these 504s and 504s, and we've also avoided problems with the state when they come in and do just like we get audited for our financials, we have a similar audit for our special education department, and they pull individual reports and they read them. And if they find discrepancies, we get tagged with it, and we risk losing funding from that end as well.
My other question is, what is the checks and balances with this? if she's my understanding is that she's working primarily from home,
She
unsupervised. And I guess my hesitation is in the contract, in the language of the contract, where it says to obtain reimbursement, consultant shall submit to this director of special education or his or her designee an invoice describing services rendered and expenses incurred under the agreement. So where is the accountability for that?
She's in the district often, and then the product is the written IEP, or I'm sorry, 504. So Lauren's responsibility is to monitor that, to make sure that we're getting what we should be getting from Allison. To my understanding, we have not had an issue, and she's actually gone above and beyond for us, during that time when we were, down a complete administrator as we were filling that position. So Lauren's responsibility is to monitor her and make sure that we are getting what we need from her, and that's not been a problem. Or Lauren, in my talks with her, would not have brought this forward again.
I just want to say, I mean, listening to it, it kind of sounds like once Bethany left and Lauren was on maternity leave, that like special ed was kind of just vacant, but we did hire Kim Spizak, and contracted her to fill in as well. So, I mean, we did have like that additional help. And
yeah, it was certainly, to your point, Ms. Eberly, Kim filled in and covered meetings, and serves as an LEA in some of those situations, and helped mitigate and tweak those agreements. So it was a patchwork until we were able to get that fully staffed for what we have.
So what's a permanent solution to the problem if this is just a temporary fix?
Well, to right size the district in terms of looking at the number of IEPs we have and 504s and look at staffing. So the reality is, asking the question, do we need additional staffing there? Again, based on similar sized districts, that answer is probably yes. Whether we have unfortunately we have priorities all over the place. And those will be decisions that administratively I'll be bringing forward to you, around budget time.
All right, there's a motion on the table to approve item 4R. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
no.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Levi Kressler,
Yes.
Dr. Michael Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Fred Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Charlie Suiters,
Yes.
Mrs. Becky Wolfinger,
Yes.
Mrs. Steph Eberly,
No.
Dr. Nathan Goetz,
Yes.
Mr. Jim Bard.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item 4V. So at this time of year, there are many personnel issues, and it's really just too lengthy to go through all of these. There are a few resignations, very many transfers, but I do want to acknowledge some of the new hires, as we have 6 new teachers and/or long-term subs that I'd like to welcome to the district. In addition to that, we have 2 new noontime aides and 2 classroom assistants that I also want to welcome to the district. Excited about those new helpers. Is there a motion to approve item 4V?
So moved.
To approve.
Motion made by Ms. Eberly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Lyman. Any discussion?
Yeah, I got a discussion. Excuse me. I know we discussed it in the executive. The transportation secretary transportation is going to be a basketball coach. We got him an assistant because he said the work was overload. And then he's going to coach basketball. And basketball starts for 9th grade. They play their games at 4 o'clock. Buses aren't back by 4 o'clock. They're still out on the road. I just have a concern about him doing both jobs. No, that's one of my concerns.
Understood, Mr. Scott. I think, as maybe previously discussed, administrators, myself included, have done both jobs. It is a challenge. I'm sure Mr. Bybee is excited to be a coach. and has every intention of fulfilling his duties as transportation director at the same time. So
I understand, I'm not.
If there's any more conversation about this, it probably should be an executive session, because this is in regards to a personnel matter. So, I mean, we did talk about this in executive session. Is it your desire that we adjourn to an executive session to discuss this more?
No, no, you just take a vote.
Okay.
Over there.
All right.
This is one bill.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'll be quick. Just thank you to our HR department for all their work. And, you know, when you see all these things, you just think about the amount of phone calls, emails, background checks, all those things that are coming in. So thank you to all of them for all of their work in helping us with all these new hires and transfers and everything else.
well said, Mr. Kressler.
And also, I have another question. What does administrator recommends? New mentors? What are they?
So for our new teachers, Mr. Scott, every teacher who's new to the district is assigned a mentor as part of our induction program. That mentor works with that teacher to kind of make sure that they know what's going on and basically guide them through their first year of teaching. It's someone they can go to answer whether it's curriculum questions or help on any subject. That's what the mentor does.
Okay.
One more thing. So my daughter just is a new teacher starting in a different state and starting teaching second grade. And so I feel the stress and the fear and the overwhelmingness that these new teachers are potentially facing. And I just want to send as much positive energy as I possibly can to them and wish them the best and welcome them to Shippensburg, because I've seen it in real life with my poor daughter.
Two of your daughters. All right. All in favor of the motion to approve item 4V? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I oppose.
All right. Roll call, please.
Dr. Michael Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Fred Scott,
No.
Mr. Charlie Suiters,
No.
Mrs. Becky Wolfinger,
Yes.
Mr. Jim Bard,
Yes.
Mr. Levi Kressler,
Yes.
Mrs. Steph Aberly,
Yes.
Dr. Nathan Goetz.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, item 4W is also personnel, and it's in regards to two administrative positions. The first is for our middle school principal, Jeremy Eastman. Administration recommends the approval of the following educational advancement for this staff member. So he received a supervisory certificate. And then the second item is Dr. Do you want to say her name for me?
Yes, Susan Donat.
Donat. Is she here? As our director of curriculum, curriculum instruction and assessment. The district is a salary of $110,000. This is replacing Ms. Woodall's. She would be filling the position that Ms. Woodall previously filled. Is there a motion to approve item 4W?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Ms. Eberle and a second by Ms. Wolfinger. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, that brings us to our action agenda. And the first item on our action agenda is another personnel issue. So this is in regards to contract for for an assistant superintendent. This is a motion, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract for Mrs. Leslie DeLong as Assistant Superintendent of the Shippensburg Area School District at a salary of $130,000 for a 3-year term commencing on or before August 21st of this year to August 31st of 2026. The Assistant Superintendent shall sign and execute a formal agreement in compliance with the provisions of Pennsylvania Public School Code. Is there a motion to approve item 5A?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Ms. Wolfinger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Lyman. Could I ask for a roll call, please?
Mr. Fred Scott,
No.
Mr. Charlie Suiters,
No.
Mrs. Becky Wolfinger,
Yes.
Mr. Jim Bard,
No.
Mr. Levi Kressler,
Yes.
Dr. Michael Lyman,
Yes.
Mrs. Steph Aberly,
Yes.
Dr. Nathan Goetz.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And I'd just like to offer a welcome on behalf of the board and the district to both of these two folks who are going to be a critical element of our administrative team moving forward. And I'm just very excited that we have these positions filled, and it feels like we've got some important foundational pieces in place, and we can get to work, and I'm excited about that. So thank you. All right, item 5B is authorization for use of electronic signature for the PDE grant system. Is there a motion to approve item 5B?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Ms. Wolfinger,
Second.
second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 5C is an agreement between the Pennsylvania Principals Association and the district for interim principal services. So this is for, this is to fill the principal position that is vacant at Nancy Grayson. At a daily rate of $327 plus administrative fees. Is there a motion to approve item 5C?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Ms. Wolfinger,
Second.
second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion?
I assume we're trying
We are, sir.
desperately to fill that position in a permanent
We are.
way. Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion to approve item 5C? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 5D, revised job description for the athletics secretary. Is there a motion to approve item 5D?
Red Scott, make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wolfinger. Any discussion?
Yeah, what does this entail? I mean, it says description attached, but I didn't see it.
So within the contract with the association, the Sports Staff Association, they brought forth that there were additional duties that weren't in the original job description. So, we need to revise it to stay in compliance with that agreement.
One of the ones that you had shared with Dr. Goetz and I was the handling of the money
Right.
specifically.
There's a lot of invoicing and monies that go through that office, which wasn't really accounted for in the job placement.
It's for the middle school and high school.
Yep.
And did this change over the years, or?
I think there is some kind of error in the original placement of it. I believe it's increased, Mr. Suiters, to my understanding.
The responsibilities have increased.
I believe so. As there's more and more pushed onto her to do the financial taking of monies, activity fees, all that other stuff.
All right, all in favor of the motion to approve item 5D?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 5E, proposed revisions to the high school cheer booster club constitution and bylaws. Is there a motion to approve item 5E?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Ms. Eberly,
Second.
second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 5F, purchase of communication device licenses to assist with the registration process. Mr. August, you want to give a quick?
Sure. So, obviously, as we get more English language learner families come in, the registration process can be a challenge, particularly, if you're trying to no one speaks the same language. This device allows us to have translation in the moment and make that process, more fluid, and I think inviting to the folks who are registering. So, being able to understand in your own language, as you're entering your student into a system, I think is a great thing, and helps streamline, the HR process from our side, or the enrollment process from our side.
Is there a motion to approve item 5F?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Ms. Wolfinger, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Eberly. Any discussion or further questions?
Are these needs increasing in our district, and are the languages more and more diverse?
Definitely increasing. I don't necessarily have numbers on the languages, but I think we're just seeing the trend continue to go up and maybe even accelerate a little bit.
All right, all those in favor of the motion to approve item 5F?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Item 5G is a technology innovation challenge grant. This is on our agenda just as a matter of bureaucracy, but I just want to applaud Amanda Kirkpatrick, who's the K through 8 gifted teacher, for applying for this grant and bringing these monies potentially into the district for the 3D printers. Is there a motion to approve item 5G?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Ms. Wolfinger. Is there a second?
Fred Scott seconds.
Second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, skipping item 5H, which was struck from the agenda. Item 5I, which is the approval of the bus and van routes for the upcoming year. So I didn't see an attachment to this item, so I don't know if, and
It was there. I looked at it today.
oh, okay, well, good. All right, well, I guess I just didn't see it.
300.
My heart dropped there a little
It's like
bit.
369 pages, I think.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, we didn't print it out for you.
Well, thank you for that. All right, is there a motion to approve item 5I?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Ms. Wolfinger. Is there a second?
Fred Scott second.
Second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Charlie Suiters.
No.
Mrs. Becky Wolfinger.
Yes.
Mr. Jim Bard.
No.
Mr. Levi Kressler.
Yes.
Dr. Michael Lyman.
Yes.
Mr. Fred Scott.
Since I don't know nothing about no bus routing, I'm vote yes.
Mrs. Steph Eberly.
Yes.
Dr. Nathan Goetz.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Item 5J, James Byrd Elementary School and Intermediate School sinkhole evaluation. So administration recommends the approval of K&W to provide consulting services regarding the sinkholes at James Byrd and the intermediate school. Cost for these services not to exceed $5,000. So this is not to address the problem, but this is to create a plan as to how to address the problem. And if I'm not mistaken, the sinkhole that we're referring to in particular is the one that's behind James Byrd, sort of sitting between James Byrd and the intermediate school. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there a motion to approve item 5J?
Move to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Suiters,
Second.
second by Dr. Lyman. Any discussion?
Was this not fixed last year or 2 years ago?
There was a fix. It didn't hold, Mr. Bard. That's why the borough, we worked with the borough on it, and they suggested that we bring in outside engineers to come up with a more permanent solution to do that. So this is where we are.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 5K, this is middle school asbestos abatement. Administration recommends the retroactive approval for Boggs Environmental Consultants to conduct the final clearance for the middle school for the asbestos abatement. Is there a motion to approve item 5K?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Ms. Wolfinger. Is there a second?
Fred Scott seconds.
Second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion?
So it looks like this was already completed. It says July 27th. Are there results back for that?
I have not heard, but I can touch base with Chad.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Well, we are to the discussion agenda, and our meeting has gone on for almost exactly 1 hour. The discussion agenda is quite lengthy, and I am not inclined to go through every single item. However, this is the discussion period, so I thought that perhaps I could just provide us with a moment for you to peruse the agenda, and if there are any questions that you have on any of these items, to bring them up so that we can discuss, as that is the point of the discussion agenda. But it is quite lengthy, and I'm not sure that everyone wants me to read through each item individually.
Amen.
the aforementioned
H a contract thing,
site logic,
a contract thing.
that's,
Teachers.
Which item are we
is
on?
it V?
It's just
Is that what item V is this?
Item V?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Is that to continue the relationship with site logic? I just wanted to make sure
Yes, sir.
okay.
I mean, so on
That's a
speak-
star.
Speaking
That's
to,
a star on a PowerPoint.
right.
Okay.
So speaking of item V, if there are questions, we have Melissa here. Now would be an opportune time to ask those questions while we have Melissa.
So this is a star that was not on the timeline, right? This is a pre-star star. Okay.
We asking a question?
Yeah,
go
absolutely, Mr. Scott.
Well, let me find it here again. If it's $900-some thousand, correct?
Yes.
You're our liaison, or you're operating the thing, the whole project, the whole project, whatever gets done, correct?
Yes, here's how I'd like you to maybe contextualize the
Yeah.
idea of the construction manager. Essentially, we're the district's representative. So throughout the entire process, we are essentially the advocate for the district on behalf of the district. Now, obviously, administration and board are participating in those discussions, but we're actually helping guide that discussion, at least through those very preliminary stages of design. Once construction starts, you have to think about us as kind of your eyes in the field, your boots on the ground, advocating to make sure that what you're paying for as part of the project is being incorporated, that things are being done safely, which is very important, and also correctly to the plans and specs that were purchased by the district. So we're there administering a lot of things, coordinating with a lot of the, with all of the professional services, your architect, your engineers, any other third-party testing agencies that might be a part of the project, in addition to the contractors that are on site.
But people you hire get paid through you, correct? I mean, what I'm trying to say is, you have a vested interest in the whole project.
Are you talking about me specifically?
Not
or-
specifically, no, I know the food chain's way up there.
Yes,
But that's,
yes, we do.
that's my,
We do have a vested interest in those projects.
I know you say that you're looking out for school district. I just have a concern when somebody has money invested in something, it's supposed to be looking out for me. I'm not saying they're crooks, and I'm not saying that. I'd like to have somebody from the school district that we hire to oversee what they're doing, what you're doing. No disrespect to you, but I said a long
So, Mr. Scott, not to interrupt you, so we could in fact hire someone to do that?
Yes.
If the board feels like that's an expense that they wish to outlie, we can certainly have that discussion. There can be someone who watches the watchers. It happens in construction.
Yes.
I'll just need some direction if that's something that
we
the
discussed
board.
it, we discussed it at the facility meeting. I guess for me, it's no disrespect to you, ma'am. And
Sure, no, I
I
understand.
guess it's because of my police background. Trust but verify. I trust you're going to do something, but I want somebody from representing us going to verify it.
Mr. Scott, I can get some numbers on what that looks like. Sometimes it's the clerk of the works. We can certainly explore that, and I can get some cost in front of the board.
Well, just to add to that, from my perspective, I think it would be worth having a proposal in place, and I guess administration could decide if they wanted to recommend it or not, but it would be, I guess, worthwhile for us to have that choice placed in front of us, whether we want to invest, I don't know, a certain number of dollars for however long this would take.
I can do that.
Can I add a comment to that? If the district does entertain a clerk of the works, typically a clerk of the works and construction manager, there's a lot of overlap in the services that are provided to the district. So there would either be a duplicative service that you are requesting, or we would have to kind of separate and divide the services between those two parties.
I don't know all this stuff. But I'm just saying, if you say we need something, I'd like somebody to tell me, yes, they has to be done. We need to do that.
So we do have those mechanisms in place to a certain extent, Mr. Scott. We have our own maintenance. Chad Chad, administration,
He's not expertise in none of this.
true, not in every area, but he does have some ability to provide input and dialogue, in that arena.
Yeah.
But this would be.
I'm not blaming you, ma'am. I'm sorry. just my.
Oh, I understand perfectly. Happy to entertain any more questions.
Dr. Lyman?
Well, this is like an FTE, right? So we're talking like $100,000 a year, kind of.
So I don't have pricing on that. It's not cheap.
Right.
Yeah, I can't even speak. Let me just back that off and say I don't know what it costs. I would have to do some exploration. There may be, in my experience, it's usually an individual that has construction experience, and then we enter an agreement with them. I mean,
But it would also be a temporary position that would last the length of the construction project and then go away. So you could sort of wrap it up into the overall cost of the construction project, correct?
Correct.
Oh, thank you. I didn't mean to insult you, ma'am, but.
No, I'm not insulted.
I don't think she feels insulted.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments regarding other items on the discussion agenda?
I have a question on letter P on the facility use agreement with Shippensburg University. I just.
What letter is that, Ms.
6P.
6P.
Yeah. Just curious, reading through there, I see that, field hockey's going to play 1 and soccer's going to play 4 games, but their booster club is paying for it. Is there a reason why the booster club's paying for it as opposed to the school district paying for it? To me, it seems like if they were going there out of sheer opportunity to play at the university, I could understand them paying the cost, but in my opinion, they're going there because we don't provide adequate space for them to play on that's not harmful to their bodies physically. The amount of kids that I know had injuries to their legs last year on the field hockey field and on the soccer field because of the divots and holes and everything else out in the fields. Is it too much to ask for? I know, just write a check, right, Becky? But I mean, it's $2,000.
Yeah, so I would answer that with probably the worst answer, which is that's the way we've always done it. And so things that are deemed as extra, such as coach buses for playoffs or playing at a university setting, have typically been paid out of the booster funds. I share some of your concerns. These are regular season games. Asking the boosters to do that is something that we can certainly dialogue on and make a change moving forward.
The only reason I ask that is because I know going into the spring that the track is going to be our next big issue and obstacle, and that some of it, is going to have to be held elsewhere. And so if we're providing a place for them to go and we're not going to charge them to do it, then why would we charge these other activities to go elsewhere?
So I think there's just costs from the university has costs that
Right.
they pass on to us.
Right.
And plus the convenience of them being close.
They did offer an olive branch to us, and we didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, in regard to football, Mr. Sutis?
So the whole thing, they were doing more than just football.
I don't think it was everything, was it, Charlie? I thought it was just football.
No, it was more than football.
I wasn't aware. Yeah, I wasn't aware that was more. My conversations were around those football games, Mr. Suiters.
Football.
Well, I believe we didn't offer it as a package. Like, we also knew if we would have said we're going to need the track in the spring, we're going to need basketball for Volvo lights. If we would have given them the list of our needs, they would have created a comprehensive plan of this is what it costs. But now we're literally breaking it down by season, not planning ahead, but more so kind of wait and see. So then things are more expensive when you don't kind of have like that lump project.
Is our track going to be ready for spring?
No, from the update, yeah, which we didn't use it as a competitive track anyway, Mr. Suiters. My worry is about practice. With all the construction in there, that is definitely a problem that we have a little bit of time to solve, but it's definitely on the horizon.
So back to Mrs. Wolfinger's concern regarding the booster clubs paying for their sports. Can you do kind of a delve into like what each booster club is paying for? Because I aware of some booster clubs are paying for transportation, these rental fees, because I think that some of these are outside of the realms of what booster clubs were designed for versus district responsibility.
I can try to get that information for the board.
Thank you.
Not to stay on this topic, but so when you look at like soccer, field hockey, and I know at least one time in the past it came up where we had an event scheduled up there because we've been doing this for a long time, like 15 years at least, where we play like 1 or 2 games for some of these sports up there. But I guess the question is, I know one time recently, the last couple of years, there was a conflict. Like obviously the university has events going on as well.
Right.
And like, I think, I could be wrong, but I think it was our senior field hockey night or something. So then like, we didn't get on the field at a certain time. Then we had an extra event. So like, I'm just hoping that obviously these dates that are like 9/20, 9/28, that's not going to be a senior night. But as you get into later October, I just want to, I guess, say I hope that we don't have that issue come up, that we have a senior night event that goes on till like 10 o'clock at night if the game's supposed to start at 7, but we have.
I know Sarah and the university have been working closely. And I just want to make a general blanket statement. It's not like we would have access to these fields. Like they're using those fields just as much as we are. And as we found with the football, like there's limited times that are available that we have to work around. So it's not an easy fix of we just need to get it and they don't. They're obviously their facilities, their folks get it first. And so we need to kind of fill in the schedule from there. I will say that, to your point, Mr. Kressler, with the Volvo lights, we are looking to see the viability of moving that girls basketball game to the university to keep it in town at least. There are a number of factors with that. We think we might have a date. We have to get Milton Hershey to agree to that. There's locker room issues that I think can be overcome. But my goal is that we, as best are able, to keep that, or at least try to keep that game in Shippensburg, so our families don't have to travel to Milton Hershey, and we lose, quote, a home game. There will be some costs with that. I'm thinking Volvo would maybe defer some of those for us. And we're trying to iron those out ahead of time. We're on a 2-year cycle with basketball. When the new schedule comes out, I've asked Sarah to make sure that block of time we're just playing away games, so we don't have to deal with this.
Superintendent, I hate to make, but on that vein, if we're playing Milton Hershey, they bring no fans.
Right. So there's, if any team that we wanted to do this with, it's the best. Yeah. I think there's a couple problems with the 3-point line in that facility, and like not having a locker room to go into.
But
so, I don't know that would our junior high. I don't know that we have seating in there for a game.
Okay, you ain't been to our games, but okay.
Anyways, we're kind of getting past this, but I'll say one more thing because we're all talking about it. I know there's limitations, or some issues like you just mentioned, locker rooms, and obviously the court size is different. But this is probably a question that should go straight to our athletic director, not here, but like our boys lost a home game last year, so really Hershey kind of owes us one to be like, hey, let's just play both games and give all the kids the experience of playing out there, because last year we sent all of our kids to Milton Hershey. So to me, it makes sense to just bring everybody down here this time. But that's just
we're hoping to get one, Mr. Kressler, but we can certainly broach that subject with them. To your point, I'm trying to avoid that situation.
I have one comment regarding 6Z, which is the middle school cafeteria furniture. I got to say, we talk about this sometimes. We're in the weeds with lots of different problems and struggles that we face, and we obviously have big projects ahead of us that are sources of stress and frustration and decision making. But man, I am so excited to see the progress that we have made at the middle school. As a board of directors, we have to think about what a school district does, right? We're in the business of education, and we don't do the educating, right? We rely, obviously, on our teachers and our aides and our coaches and whatever. Like, they're the ones that are having the contact with the students and doing the work. So our job, perhaps our most important job, is to provide the resources that our educators need to do the work that we're asking them to do. And this isn't, facilities isn't the only resource that matters, but it is definitely an important resource. And when I see what the cafeteria looks like in the new classrooms, I'm just really, really excited. And this is it is so hard to make these decisions, but we made that decision, and we're seeing the thing come to pass, and I'm really excited. And so with that in mind, we've got this decision to make about the furniture, and obviously this proposal from administration is a little bit more costly than what was there, but I'm excited about that. In my mind, it seems totally worth it to make the thing really as good as it could be, and so I'm just really excited about the whole thing.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, so there was $75,000 already in the project dedicated to furniture, through some good management of change orders and contingency funds. We're adding, I won't nail her down to a number, somewhere in the 40,000 additional monies that we can put towards this. So the pull from the next project soft cost will be minimal to get this package.
With this new cafeteria space, is it possible that with the space requests that the music faculty just made, that space could potentially alleviate some of their?
I think it opens up a lot of interesting possibilities, and the flexible seating, the more flexible seating option gives us more flexibility to do those things.
So it could potentially be like a rehearsal space. She used fancier music words that I don't.
I think there's a ton of potential, and for that to be used for another large group space, be it for music or anything else. Okay. And it will be have the accoutrements to allow for us to do a variety of things.
Good word.
Like I said, I have no trouble with the furniture. I just don't like one thing of one. I like to see variety, and then you pick the best one of the group. And so I only see this one. That's my.
Mr. Scott, I'll get you the other one. It is fairly similar. Like I said, this is the administrative recommendation. So I hear what you're saying. This is what the administration believes is what we need for that space to allow the things that we want to do to happen more readily. But I hear what you're saying.
All right, are there any other comments or items on the discussion agenda that we want to spend some time on? Great. In that case, let us move to citizen comments regarding non-agenda items. We did have one person who indicated that they wanted to speak. If they are still here, is Emma Wagner here? Excellent. Ms. Wagner.
Hi, my name is Emma Wagner. I live here in Shippensburg. I'm the current class president of the 2026 graduating year here at Shippensburg. I've heard multiple discussions with students from all grades, and I believe it is illogical for us to be forced to use a locker. I'm not sure if you understand, but we have only 4 minutes to get from one class to the other. I understand that this is safety concerns to stop the ever-growing epidemic from teenager vaping, but 4 minutes is not enough time for us to do what we need to do if we cannot carry our backpacks on us. Even with students carrying backpacks, 4 minutes is barely enough time to get to class, which has caused students to be late in previous years. Locker-only use has been achievable in middle school due to the individual grade hallways with coordinating lockers. Here at the high school, our classes are spread all throughout the campus. There are no individual grade hallways. For example, I go from room 77 to room 16, and I don't know where my locker is. What if it's in a hallway that I don't even need to go down in order to get to my class, but I only have 4 minutes? In addition, did you know it takes the average human being 1 to 1.5 minutes to use the restroom, then another 30 seconds to properly wash their hands? This is all assuming if all they need to do is urinate and there's no line. Furthermore, if a girl is on her menstrual cycle, it takes longer to change her feminine hygiene products. So all this can take anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes, which is a majority of our time to get to our next class and prepare to learn. I know what you're thinking. We can just go during class, right? The problem is, Apir and I have both been embarrassed for asking to use the restroom during our class time. And I've heard similar stories, including one where they have been denied timely access to the restroom. Students get scared to ask to use the restroom because of those teachers. Denying students reasonable access and time to use the restroom in or between classes can increase the chances of a student contracting an infection. As a whole, we are not against this policy. We are asking for accommodations to be able to accomplish what we need during our passing period and to be in class prepared and ready to learn when class starts. We are asking to either have our backpacks on us or have at least 10 minutes of passing time. We challenge you to time yourself and walk from the gymnasium to the freshman wing, use the restroom, and stop at a random locker. See how long that takes you. I hope that you keep these concerns of the student body in mind when coming up with resolutions to help keep our character, honor, attitude, mindfulness, and preparedness. We are champs. Go Greyhounds.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wagner. Really appreciate that.
Wow.
I am confident that your concerns will be taken under advisement. Thank you. All right, it is now time for board comments. Mr. Scott, we'll start with you.
We start over
today.
here. I got nothing. It's a long night.
All right, Ms. Wolfinger.
Yes. This Friday, come out and support your high school. We have community night that is from 5 o'clock until around 8 o'clock. You'll get to get introduced to all of our athletes. Our cheerleaders will be here. Our band will be here. Yeah, it's going to be a great night. All of your boosters will be here, so you can come and spend lots of money to give to all those boosters that then give all that money back to our students. So yeah, Friday night. 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And there's like lots of food too. So
Free?
have dinner. No, come spend your money. Come spend your money.
Mr. Chrysler.
One thing, I'm actually checking out the progress on the new, I believe it's called the new admin building. Did I get that right?
Correct.
So I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think the carpet's getting close to going down, if that's right.
It's not in yet. It's
gonna be close.
We're anxiously waiting it.
But I'm going to check that out tomorrow. Also, fall sports are they're kicked off. So I wish best of luck to all those coaches, players, cheerleaders, all those student athletes. I hope you have a healthy, successful season, and I hope we get to add some words and some championships on our banners in the gym. This is our last meeting overall before everybody returns to school next week. So I want to wish all of our students, all of our teachers, all the faculty, the best of luck. Have a great year, tons of learning and all those good things. I got a bunch here. I'm sorry. This one popped up. Thank you to Ms. Wagner. I think that is right. That was exceptional. I love it when students come and talk. I don't care what the topic is about. It's awesome. So well spoken for a class of 2026 president, I should say. Congratulations to Mr. Suiters on 16 years of service. It's an incredibly long time. Quite frankly, it's thousands of hours to volunteer to the district. I don't know how you do it. 2 years in, head scratcher. The last one is, if you go back to the donation report, Dr. David Landis, who was our superintendent way back when, wrote a book and then donated these books. So now the question is, Mr. August, when you retire way down the road, I hope that we get a book published from you to go in the elementary library.
It will be all about construction, Mr. Chrysler.
That's all.
Excellent. Mr. Bard.
None this evening.
All right, Mr. Suiters.
Good.
Dr. Lyman.
I would just like to commend Ms. Wagner as well. I know that same issue is a major topic of discussion in my high schoolers' conversations that she's had with me. She's signed the petition.
Mine too.
So I'm sure that we will probably, maybe not us, but at least Ms. Luffy will probably hear from.
She's prepared, and we've already brainstormed some ways to help it.
So, and then just, again, a huge welcome to new staff, new teachers, everybody, and good luck for the new school year.
Ms. Eberly.
So as Mr. Kressler has stated, so tonight is the last night that we will meet as the Board of the Whole before school starts on the 24th. The summer is officially winding down, and it's time to trade in those swimsuits for school clothes. I hope everyone had a wonderful summer, and I wish all of our staff and students an exciting, safe, and productive first week back to school. That's it.
Thank you. Well, I got beat to the punch, but I also wanted to just, since it's a new school year and I'm just excited about new beginnings. One of the reasons that I like being in education is that there's continually sort of there's a clear end to the year and a clear beginning to the year. And with new beginnings, you get to sort of this opportunity to reinvent yourself and make yourself better. And I think the same applies to us. And I hope that, I mean, we have been making some terrific progress with the kinds of things that we are charged to do as a board, and I'm looking forward to the continued progress that we make as we support our educators in their educational mission. All right, with that, we have some information, date savers. Before the next school board meeting on August 23rd, there will be an athletics committee meeting from 9 a.m. in the conference room at the administration building. And then in 2 weeks' time, August 28th, will be Committee of the Whole and our next school board meeting. There are additional dates on the date saver, but I'm not going to read through them as we will have another meeting before that. I do want to mention the open houses quickly, or actually I don't want to read through them, but I do want to mention that they are, if you're interested in what times those open houses are, they are on the agenda at the end, so you can look to the agenda to find when your open house is. And with that, I'll entertain a motion for us to adjourn.
Let's go and make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made. Thank you.
Hey, ain't it the truth, though?